Welcome to our potpourri this morning. We are delighted to have you here and delighted to have our guests here. And I'm not going to make a lot of announcements. Refer back to the email that I sent out last weekend. It's very complete. If you have questions, let me know. With that, I'm going to turn the time over to our potpourri board member, Julie Red, who will introduce our guest.
Thank you. We're very happy to welcome Mr. William McFarland. He works for the state of Utah in the Department of Commerce, and they're really trying to get people aware and protect yourselves against all of the scams and fraud that are so readily. Even today, there have been people who have been in this classroom who have been approached. Anyway, he has some excellent materials. So make sure you get the 3 handouts on your way out, and we're going to leave them here so that as we meet our classes, people will be able to get them. So with that, we welcome Mr. Will McFarland.
All right, there we go. There's the microphone. Okay, yeah, like Julie said, my name is Will McFarland. I am here from the Utah Division of Securities. We are the policing body for, policing regulatory body for white-collar crime in the state of Utah. We're the sister division of the Utah Division of Consumer Protection, which tends to be a lot more blue-collar crime. That will be your folks who do contractor fraud, but I am here and they are not, so we're going to talk about it from the security standpoint. We are also not the people who install locks and security cameras at your house. No, we're talking about financial securities, investments, and Ponzi schemes and things like that. So to start, we are, so from the Utah Department of Commerce, one second, sorry, let me get rid of this. From the Utah Department of Commerce, we have several offices and divisions. Our goal as the Department of Commerce is to enforce laws that protect and strengthen trust in Utah's businesses. That is kind of our general overarching goal and skill. We have the Division of Real Estate. They regulate real estate, obviously. We have consumer protection. They are basically the regulatory body that makes sure that every time you are interfacing with anyone you're giving money to, that it is done in a fair and balanced way. Corporations and commercial code make sure that all of our corporations abide by commercial code. Shocking. We have public utilities. They make sure that your electrical bills and things like that are not through the roof. They do that by negotiating with all of the power and gas companies around here. We have professional licensing. They make sure that your doctors and your contractors and your nurses have to be licensed before they can practice in the state of Utah. And then you have us, and we're the cool ones. We're the Division of Securities. We are here to ensure that the securities industry is regulated and well understood by Utahns, so you feel safe investing in the state of Utah. The way that we do that, one moment. Uh-oh, I think it's frozen up. Let's see what happens here. There we go. Okay, the Division of Securities, we level the securities industry playing field. So we're here, I'm here today talking about scams, but I'm going to give you this overview because we're here in case you're ever interested in knowing what the Division of Securities does. We also make sure that there is competency in what people are, when you have investment advisors or retirement advisors, that they have to be held to a set of standards before they are allowed to sell you investments, right? But we also protect and educate Utah investors and Utah consumers, and that's just all Utahns. And we do that by combating scams, frauds, and schemes. So the first thing that we do, the most important thing that we do, is education and outreach. That is our first most important thing, because the best way to not get scammed, or the best way to protect yourself from scams, is to be educated about scams, right? Because it's very hard for the Division of Securities or the Division of Consumer Protection or any government agency to do something after you've already wired some Czechoslovakian $30,000, right? Because we don't have jurisdiction in whatever in the Czech Republic now, right? So we also collaborate with external stakeholders. So we talk to the SEC. We are working with NASA, not the rocket people, but the North American Securities Administration Association. Different one, it's got two A's. So NASA is our other stakeholder. They are the securities body for all of Mexico, the US, and Canada. We also do sweep exams of anyone who is selling securities in the state of Utah so that they remain compliant. We also send people to jail who don't do that, who are bad and are selling securities without a license. And then we mostly want to make sure that you guys feel safe and comfortable with your investments and that they are kept safe so that you don't lose all of your money, right? Because that's not fortunate. But that's all the boring stuff. Let's get to the fun stuff. So, actually, I'm sorry, more boring stuff. We have a disclaimer. So we can't give legal advice, and our views expressed today are our own. So whatever I say today, you can totally disregard. I'd rather you didn't, but you can. We generally speak about securities regulations and how to keep yourself safe. I'm giving this disclaimer because all of my bosses are lawyers, and so they feel like that's important to have with everything. The disclaimer that I'd like to give is that by the end of this presentation, you are likely going to be very worried. So my disclaimer is, not relating to this, is I don't want you at the end of this presentation to go throw your phone in a river or to go smash your computer with a sledgehammer, right? That's not the goal of today. The goal of today is to make sure that you guys are educated in things that are occurring in the world that are ways that people are going to try to get your money away from you. So we're going to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about the who, why, how, and what. So we're going to talk about who is trying to take your money. We're going to talk about why they're trying to take your money. We're going to talk about how they're going to try to take your money. So that's the most important part, is the how, is because when you recognize it, you're instantly more likely to be wary of it, right? And then we're going to talk about what can you do to stay protected, okay? So who is trying to take your money? We have organized criminal networks that are often based in other countries. We have a lot of reports of agencies or criminal networks working in Southeast Asia, in Eastern Europe, in Latin America. We even had some Canadian traffickers who were doing some interesting things. And right here in the US, we have organized groups who are trying to take money from people who have it, right? We also have gray businesses where they operate in strange legal boundaries. So there are legitimate business opportunities. So you'll have like a tech support company that is based in some country, and unbeknownst to them, some of their employees are running a tech support scam. So they will be functionally operating underneath a real company, but they will be acting in a way to steal your money, right? You'll have some rogue agent. We also have robocalling services where there are companies who offer the service of being able to call 1,000 people at once. They are unscrupulous about who they let call. And so you will have scammers that are using legitimate companies and businesses to steal money. We also have the general one we have, though, is a lot of solo scammers, because when you are a little bit capable with technology, you realize how simple it is to fabricate lies and try to steal money, right? So we're going to talk about the why. The first one is accumulated wealth and assets. This is important because I am 25. I am worth I'm worth negative money. My wife's in med school right now. We're like $1 million in debt. So I am worth nothing. If a scammer came to me, they would get these $6 in my checking account, right? Not important, not useful. They don't want that, right? And so they go for people who have who've done the right thing and have built up wealth over a lifetime through safe and measured investments, through retirements, through a lifetime of work, right? They also rely on a high degree of trust and politeness. I think people my age tend to be very abrasive and can be generally rude about a lot of things. They rely on politeness from people who tend to be, this is a reason why they target older citizens, is because older citizens are less likely to just hang up the phone on someone, right? Because they're exploiting this politeness, right? They also know that you guys are less likely to report losses because reporting losses is embarrassing. You say, I lost all of my retirement savings to some guy who said he had my my son or daughter hostage, right? That is a case of you're not going to mention that to someone, and so they rely on being able to take your money and get away with it because no one's going to report it to the police, right? And if they do, sometimes they're out of state, so we'll talk about that too. They also like to exploit relationships. As I mentioned, you have like hostage negotiation scams where they've never actually seen your son or daughter or grandson or niece or nephew or whatever, but they still use faked videos or phone calls from them to get you to send them money. So they exploit those relationships. And then finally, this is the problem with the modern age, is that we have things called data brokers, where anytime you sign up for anything ever, unfortunately, there's no way of fixing this, but anytime you sign up for anything ever, companies get a little bit of money. They make a little extra profit by selling your data to data brokers, who are other companies who sell it to other companies who sell it to other companies, and so on and so forth. And they build profiles of any sort of online presence. This is the part where don't throw your phone in a river. It's okay. But when you ask, how did they get my phone? How did someone get my phone number? How did someone get my email address? How did someone get my home address? Things like that. That is generally because an unscrupulous actor paid a little bit of money to a data broker to get all of your information. So that is the why they're able to target you. There is always legislation you can look into for that. We there have been a couple of bills that have gone into the to the FCC, I believe, to protect us from that. None of them have ever passed because it's it's a lucrative business. So let's talk about the how. We're going to talk about some common themes first before we get into specific scams. This is very important. These are the things that should always raise red flags in your head whenever you get some sort of pitch for an investment, right? Or not an investment, sorry, Freudian slip, for a scam. Deception, there's always going to be some part of it that involves not being truthful. I mean, obviously it's a scam, right? No one's going to just come right out and say, hi, I'm a scammer, please give me your money. But more importantly, we have urgency. They're always going to leverage some sort of urgency, like you have to do this now. There is a virus on your phone. You are going to lose all of these pictures from your cloud, right? And then they are going to threaten you with personal loss or harm. Hi, we're going to shut off your water. We're going to come arrest you. We're going to come burn your house down. I don't know about that last one, but something like that. They want no contact. So what this means is they're going to say, do not call anyone else about this. We are the FBI. Trust us. We're the FBI. We'll arrest you if you call anyone else. The FBI doesn't do that. They're not going to arrest you for calling someone to verify. But scammers want you to remain isolated. They want you to be afraid. They want you to not talk to anyone else. So they're going to say that they're going to be able to follow through on whatever their threat is if you talk to someone else. A government agency is not going to be doing stuff like that. So for imposter scams and things like that, don't trust someone if they're trying to get you to not talk to anyone or verify anything, right? And then when they ask you to send money, it's going to be in the weirdest way imaginable. They're not going to want to go through a bank. They're not going to want to go, they're going to want cash. They're going to want you to email them a gift card. They're going to want you to go to crypto ATMs. All of that is because if there is a bank, the bank can get your money back from them. If there is a financial institution that is regulated and legalized, there are methods for those places to get your money back from the scammer, right? So they want to do something where once you send it, there's no way of getting that money back, right? So these are the things that I want you to look for whenever you get one of these calls, one of these emails. Before we get into any of this, let's by a show of hands, who has gotten a scam call in the past month? Who's gotten a scam call in the past week? Yeah, that's what I was going to go to next. How about today? How about the past hour? Right? I got a text as I was walking in here from some random number claiming that I had an Amazon package, right? That's not true. And like that's how prevalent the issue is as I was walking in here today, I got a scam text, right? So let's talk about impersonation scams. This is always going to be the type of scam where someone pretends to be someone else. Obviously, that is what impersonation is. There are a couple of different versions of this. Each one of them is very insidious, but they're going to do different things. So these ones have very specific solutions, right? Let's talk about authority scams first. Authority scams claim to be law enforcement, local government, or utilities. This is going to be, hi, this is the Provo Police Department. We are going to come to your house and arrest you unless you send us $25,000 for a court appearance or something like that. They're threatening with fines or arrests. They are exploiting a trust in authority. You believe that they have the power to do that, right? And so they're going to say, well, you're afraid of getting arrested for nothing. You're afraid of going to jail over a parking ticket, right? So they're going to exploit that. They're high pressure. Their tactic is always going to be, hi, we are important. We're going to send you to jail. That's the high pressure. Or we're going to shut off your water. Or we're going to send you a bigger fine, right? And it's always going to end up with send money to prevent legal or financial issues. So let's talk about the solutions here. First off, they're going to tell you not to, but you should always just try to call the real agency directly. If the call came from a different number than the one that you can call to reach the agency, that's a pretty high likelihood that that was not a member of said agency who is calling you. You can always ask them for names and numbers. That's where their scam, that's where their grift falls apart really quickly. You say, okay, officer, what's your badge number? And then they hang up because they don't have a badge number, or they'll make up some number. And then you call the police department and you say, hi, I talked to officer so-and-so, badge number this, and they say, that guy's never worked for us. You know it's a scam, right? You want mailed documents. Anything that makes a scammer work a little bit harder, they're not going to do. That's why they're scamming people. They don't want to expend effort. So they're not going to sit there and mail over a bunch of documents for you to trace them with to scam, so that you can send them scam money, right? So you can always ask for mailed documents. Here's another one. This is just mind-boggling to me: is the government does not ask for gift cards or crypto. We have ways of getting money, right? And also they're very slow, and you will know if the government's trying to get money from you, right? There will be letters, there will be court documents, there will be a million different things that have to happen before the government can just start taking money, right? We don't need grift. We are not in the grift business of gift cards and crypto, right? And also, most importantly, agencies and utility requests can be appealed. So if anyone ever reaches out to you and says, hi, we're the government, we're going to turn off your water bill, right? You can always call someone about it. You can always, there is an appeal, there is a process, right? The scammers don't rely on process. So that's the most important thing to remember, is that it can't instantly happen. The big thing with all of these is just take a step back, breathe, don't get caught up in the grift. Next up, we have personal scams. These ones are incredibly insidious. They're also getting better and better every day. This is where they pretend to be a distressed family member or friend. Hi, it's your nephew. I'm in jail. I need $20,000 wired to me to post bail. I'm in Nebraska for some reason. Don't come over to my house and check on me. They ask for money to fix the crisis. It always requires secrecy. Please don't tell my mom and dad that I went to jail in Nebraska. They're going to kill me. Just send me money. Doesn't make sense, right? This is where it gets really gross, is they use AI videos. They don't have to have even met your kids, your grandkids, your loved ones, anything like that. They can take a video or a picture of them and turn it into a video. They can make a video that looks like the actual person. My grandparents got this call from one of my siblings. Where they had a video of my younger brother, and he was tied up in a room and had duct tape over his mouth and all these things. And he said, Mom, Dad, or he said, Grandma, Grandpa, send me money, or else these guys are going to cut my toes off or something like that. Luckily, my grandparents were able to we're able to counter this because of some of our solutions that we'd already discussed as a family. So we're going to get into those solutions right now. But this one's really extra gross because they're always going to rely on your love of your personal connections, right? Which is just absolutely devastating that you can't trust when you get a call from, you know, some of your from some of your loved ones. But here's our solutions. The big part is do not panic. This is always the first part. The whole point of it is to make you scared, it's to make you really riled up, and it's to make you not think rationally, right? Because it's exploiting a personal connection, which is terrible that they're doing that. And they're expecting you to freak out and throw caution to the wind and wire them money, right? So stop and think. Say, realistically, if they say never to call anyone else, what's the worst? If I call someone else, what's the worst thing that happens? They send my grandson to jail, and then what? Then they don't need my money anymore, right? Like, they don't have any leverage outside of just saying, we have this thing that needs to happen. So there's no actual leverage if they follow through on it. They can't get your money, right? So that's the first thing to stop and think about. The second thing to stop and think about is, when was the last time that you talked to this person? When was the last time you talked to their parents? Did they make any trips or any plans to go on trips? Because if you know that you saw your grandson or granddaughter yesterday, and then today they're in Russia, like, how did they get there that fast? You saw them last night, right? So a lot of this is about stopping and thinking. This is my favorite one, though, is this is make a secret family password. This is something that I have with my grandparents. This is how they avoided this scam. When they asked the scammers, they asked this fake robot version of my brother, they said, what's the family password? And there was a pause, and the screen just paused as they were trying to like type in something furiously to get him to say a password. And then they just hung up and they disappeared. And my grandparents were very worried about that, obviously. So they called my younger brother, who said, what's the problem? Like, without ever having met my younger brother, seen my grandparents, anything like that, they were able to fabricate a fake video. So because we had a secret family password, it can be something that is sentimental to the family, but most importantly, you don't ever want to have communicated about it online, right? So if your family goes to Bear Lake every summer, you don't want to be like, our password is Bear Lake 123, right? And you post about that online all the time. It needs to be something that's important to the family. So ours, we had I'm not going to share it with you guys in case you want to scam me. But we had ours is an important family song. And so we have the title of an important family song where that prevents anyone from kind of exploiting that specific avenue, because it's really hard to fabricate a password you don't know, right? Again, call the family member directly, call people who know the family member. If you can't get in contact with your grandson, call their parents. If you can't get in contact with your niece, like use as many different avenues as you can to verify this, because they're going to say, don't call anyone or else we're going to kill them or something like that. But then they can't get your money. So they're not going to actually do that. Even if they did actually. Well, and then there's the problem of if they actually do have your grandson or granddaughter hostage. In that case, I can't help you with that. I don't know what to do there. Call the police. We can't do anything about that. And then also on top of that, have a secondary contact readily available for anyone. So spouses, friends, things like that. If you want to check on a person and you know that that's someone could use to scam you, make sure that you have a secondary contact that you can call and verify that they're okay. So that's how we avoid personal scams. Tech support scams. These ones are super fun. They create a fake emergency. They say your computer, your phone, your smartwatch, your refrigerator has a virus, right? And then they request remote access after you've clicked on something because your computer has a virus and you have to fix it, right? They're creating urgency. They say you have to do it right now or else it's going to delete all of your pictures or something like that. And then it's going to lock your computer, steal your passwords to your banking, social media, whatever. And they might often request ransom money. So big way to avoid a lot of this stuff is do not ever click third-party repair pop-ups on your computer. It's hard to verify them, but if something has big flashing red letters and says, you have a virus, that's No. There's if it looks like something that came from your phone, but like a little bit outdated, that's another method where someone's trying to scam you. So if something on your computer, your phone looks a little bit off and claims that you have a virus, I'm going to say this right now. If it's a good virus, it doesn't need to tell you that there's a virus. It will just collect all of your information anyway, and it will never ever say anything, right? If someone's telling you that you have a virus, it's because they're too dumb to make a good virus. And they say, you have a virus. You have to call me because that's the only way I can get into your computer. Computers and phones are getting more and more secure every single day. We're locking down different ways for people. Hacking was very, very easy to do in the late 90s, early 2000s. It has gotten a lot harder. So one of the easiest ways for people to get and give information is to trick you into clicking on a link because they're too dumb to make a virus that could actually do any of the stuff that they want to try to do, which is, steal your bank account information. You never want to allow remote access to your computer unless you have gone out and reached out to the tech support in the first place. But this is also one of my little solutions here is if you have a tech problem, you should probably try to meet the repair person in person, right? It's one of those things that I like to do face to face because then I know that they're not going to try anything weird with my computer. And if I know that it's gone to a place and I know that there's a person attached, that's when you can start appealing to people if someone does try to scam you, right? So that's when you talk to the government and you say, yeah, what's up?
Here's the microphone.
You might use.
What if the Geek Squad is the scammer? Has that ever happened?
We have never had that happen. And that's for one reason and one reason only. It is because if you know who the people are, you can get the government to bring down the hammer of justice upon them, right? Like it's a lot harder to commit a scam when you know who someone is, you know where they work, you know what they do, right? So that's why scammers tend to try to hide themselves and cover up. So it's very rare that something like a tech support group is going to be trying to scam you because exclusively for the reason that it's easier to litigate against someone that you're aware of, where they live, where they work. Yes.
I just want to say that I do get messages that say they're from the Geek Squad, and I know I'm not connected. I get that quite a bit, and I just trash them. So you can get messages from places who has a Geek Squad,
Yeah.
but I know that I'm not subscribed to them in any way.
That's the impersonation. That right there is they're going to say, you know this company, you know this person, you know X, Y, or Z, right? That is how they're going to get your trust, right? It's by impersonation. So this is again why I love computers. I built my own computer recently. It was super cool. I loved all of it. When I had a tech problem, I had to go in person because I didn't want someone to just get on there, lock my computer, change my password, all that stuff. Because at the very least, if there's a person in front of me and they've done that, I can just beat them up. I'm just kidding. You don't want to do that. At the very least, I could get my computer back, right? So let's talk about phishing, which is what you just mentioned. So phishing, like real phishing, is where you bait a link, cast it out, and you wait for bytes, which is people clicking on the link and then it takes you to a download that locks your computer, puts malware on your computer, deletes all of your family pictures unless you send them $60,000 in crypto, right? This is always important because they pretend to be a company or agency. So recently I got one for Dunkin' Donuts. I have literally never set foot in a Dunkin' Donuts in my entire life. And it said, you have subscribed to Dunkin' Donuts email mailer. And I was like, okay, well, I should hit unsubscribe here. So I go for the unsubscribe, which is just like, get this out of my inbox. And I right-clicked on it because this is the #1 thing to do when you aren't sure where an email come from. You right-click on it, and a link popped up, and the link was to a download file where essentially the second I clicked on it, it would download something onto my computer and lock it, right? And you can look at what a link actually sends you to, because this is the worst part about the internet, is you can just make anything say anything else. So you can say, this is a link to Dunkin' Donuts tech support. And in reality, this is a link to hackyourcomputer.com, stealallyourmoney.com, whatever. Essentially, they use something that looks legitimate to get you to click on a link and steal all your money. So first off, right click on links to see where they go.
Oh, you mentioned the clicking on it. What am I trying to say? I get these things in my email and I click on the unsubscribe.
Mhm.
Should I not click on anything?
If
Right click.
if you're not sure, then you can right click. If it's on your phone, you can just hold down and long press and it should show you where the actual link goes. But if you really aren't sure and you don't want to mess with it, leave it and have someone else look at it. That's one of our safest things.
I get things for insurance, for instance, you know.
In a lot of
something.
cases,
I've just clicked unsubscribe.
in a lot of cases, it's okay to hit the unsubscribe button. This was just a very specific case where if it's someone you've never had any business dealings with before, or if it's someone who isn't actively trying to sell you something. So for example, if so I'm a Utah state government, we have the Utah retirement system, right? They will send me a mailer every week. And I know that I've done stuff with them in the past. I don't want that. I unsubscribe, right? In a lot of cases, this is still pretty rare. But if there's something that you're ever uncomfortable with, it's okay if you ever hit unsubscribe. Your your computer are very good at handling threats every time you turn them all the way off and back on. This is getting really in the weeds, but when you turn your computer off and on, it will essentially bootload a new thing, which is your Defender and your antivirus. Every time your computer or your phone wakes up all the way from sleep, it's going to look through all of your files and say, this one looks sketchy, go to the garbage can. So that's what we do nowadays with computers, phones, everything. So if you're ever really worried about it, shut it all the way off. If it starts acting weird, that's something where you want to take it to a tech repair person, say, look through my computer, look for viruses, things like that. So that's what to do if you feel like you've actually gotten a virus that is not just a simple tech support scam, is that you don't need to download a whole lot of third-party software for viruses and things like that. All of those antivirus companies still exist to kind of like make you think that they're going to make your computer extra secure. But both Windows and Apple products tend to have very good just native stuff, and then you don't have to pay $1 million for Norton antivirus every month or something like that.
Well, over here, a comment on the unsubscribe.
Mhm.
It wasn't long ago that Google started giving you an unsubscribe option in the inbox when you see something listed that you haven't opened up yet. And if that's a safe place to unsubscribe because Google is handling the unsubscribe from that email address for you. When it's an unsubscribe within the email, that's when you have the danger. Like at the bottom of an email, a lot of companies are required to do that now. That's where you want to really be cautious.
Yes.
Right? Because it's a link that somebody created that could do something completely differently.
Yeah, that's true.
So a year ago, around Christmas time, when I was ordering a lot of things off of Amazon, I got this email that said, oh, we appreciate you ordering so much from us. And we're looking for, and you see it all the time when you go and look at reviews, that they are people that they've asked to test their products and review it for them. And they said, we would like you to do that. You'll get the product and we pay a minimum amount. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm old. Yay, they can send me this stuff. But my son has always said, Mom, check with me first before anything.
That is enticing.
And it was because it seemed logical.
Here's what I would say. Is there's not a whole lot of ways that they can take your money if they know what your physical address is. So if they want to send you a product, you say, great, send me the product. And then if they say you have to pay shipping, you say, absolutely not.
No, well, but anyway, it was a total scam. Exactly.
Exactly.
But it looks so real. But at the last second, I thought, well, I'll have my son look at it. And then he's like, click on it, Mom, see where this is.
That is a great instinct right there, is that last second of saying, I should verify this.
Yeah,
Always
yeah.
verify. That is a takeaway
but
here.
it was so real. I mean,
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
And I mean, I worked as a graphic designer for a while. It is shockingly easy to just recreate a website or recreate something that looks very similar. So whenever you get a little bit of that, always trust that little I should verify this first, because there's a huge chance that it isn't and that you don't need to verify it, but you should. Yes.
Okay, I have a question for you. I get this thing on my phone all the time that's telling me that my storage is full and that I've got a virus. How do I know if that's true or not? I feel like I've asked my children, and of course, none of us are really computer experts or anything. So my daughter told me, Mom, take it to your phone where you purchased your phone and tell them the scenario.
Mhm.
Is that a good idea?
Yes, that's a phenomenal idea.
Okay.
Always get someone else to look at it.
But is that a thing that scammers are doing, is saying that
Yeah.
your phone is full?
Yes.
And we can clean it up?
Because they know that you want, because again, this relies on that hook, the hook being that they say, oh, you like taking pictures, you like putting pictures on your phone, you like pictures of your grandkids, your pets, everything, like whatever your vacation is. And so they say, well, now you can't take as many pictures, but you have to pay us and then we'll give you more pictures. That's not how that works, right? There will be places where they can tell you how to do that. And I would recommend talking to professionals about that. All right. This one is a little gross. Who likes bacon? Who likes roast? Who likes pork chops? I do. I love those. Who wants to be the pig in that scenario? None of us, right? So pig butchering is where you build a personal connection. A scammer builds a personal connection with you. They call you, they say, hi, is this Cheryl? And you say, no, this is not Cheryl, wrong number, hang up. But then they try to build a connection and say, oh, it's so funny, I'm sorry, I'm just very lonely. People did this a lot because of COVID, and there was not a lot of personal contact. And so they seek out people who are feeling lonely, and they try to build a falsified personal connection with them. And then this one is a long-term one, over the course of a year, they fatten up the pig by getting them to trust you. And then they just pitch you an investment, and they say, hey, there's this investment. You and I have been friends for such a long time, even though we've never met in person. And I speak with a Croatian accent, right? Like we're best friends, and I take care of my friends. Here's an investment that has made me so much money. You should invest in it too. And then you say, awesome, it made my friend Doug from Croatia so much money. And then they take your money and they disappear, and you never talk to them again. They've run off with your money. It was never your friend. It was always some pimply-faced teenager in an Eastern Bloc country, right? So here's our solution. If you ever get a text that just says, hello, don't answer it. If it's a text from a number you don't recognize, you shouldn't answer it. If it's someone you don't know, if it's someone you didn't give your number, then you probably shouldn't answer it. This is also my big thing, is personal connections. Phones are great, but you should also have a personal connection with a person. You should know them face to face, right? The only people on my phone who have contacts are people that I've met face to face, and then I look at them and I say, I want you to have my phone number. I want to have your phone number. I'm going to put you in my phone number as a contact, right? So I like to keep myself safe by just not answering any texts from people I don't know. Sometimes I miss some things. Sometimes I miss some opportunities. Sometimes my boss texts me from a new number and it gets lost in my inbox, but I have never gotten scammed. Don't send money to someone that you have not met in person. And even then, exercise caution. If it's just some random person you've met on the street, probably don't send them money either. But you don't ever want to, if someone says, hey, I have a great investment opportunity, send me your money, and you say, I've never met this person face to face, I've never shaken hands. Would you go to a car dealership and buy a car from a dealer you have never met in person? Yeah, and it's crazy to me. I get so anxious about that. I bought a new car. I had to go meet the guy face to face because I wanted to be like, if something's wrong with my car, I want to know exactly who to find. All right. You can ask someone around you to reverse image search their profile. So if they have a little profile picture on Facebook, you can ask someone who knows how to do this to look at that picture and put it back into Google, because a lot of times scammers are lazy. They'll just Google picture of an attractive young lady or picture of a cool looking guy, and then put that as their Facebook profile. And you can take that picture and put it back into Google and say, oh, they just took that from a stock image site. This is not a real person. You want to check their number. If it is a number that the area code is somewhere that is not local, or maybe not even in the US, you probably shouldn't answer that. And then don't open any links they send you. It's another phishing scam. Yes, in the back.
Here's one, and you might be going to get to this. It's Facebook, and somebody wants to be your friend, and you're a adult senior woman. That's me. Here's this nice looking adult man, and he's got his dog in the picture, and he wants to be my friend. Are you kidding? That's a get rid of right away.
Have you met him in person or his
But that's happening to people,
Mhm.
and they try it on you, and I've erased quite a few of
That's
those.
why it works, is because they rely on falsified personal connections. We all feel very siloed off, which is why it's good that we have something like ElderQuest here, where you can get to know other people in person, so you don't fall for things like this, because you say, I already have friends. I don't need to make friends with some random person on Facebook who wants to be my friend, right? Okay, we're going to talk about financial service scams. We're going to start, we'll get going so I don't keep you guys here for too long. But we have financial service scams, gold and precious metal exchanges. So this is an investment. We're gearing more towards the security side of things. So gold and precious metal exchanges rely on your desire to remove your money from financial institutions. Everyone likes to not trust banks because, you know, you put your money in there and you can lose it, right? Banks are weird. But the scam here is that they say, we will sell you gold bullion. We are going to do, there's high profit because if the market fluctuates, you're going to have bought gold, and then your money's going to stay stagnant, even though you don't actually have the gold. They're just saying that you bought gold, right? They're safeguarding your money by investing it in gold, and gold supposedly keeps its value. And so as the market goes down, then your money is going to be kept safe, right? But you don't actually own any gold. They've just taken your money and said, we're going to invest this in gold, trust us. And then they either sell low quality or fake bullion. So they say, well, we'll send you a commemorative coin for every $1,000 you put into this, and that coin is worth $1,000, even though the coin retail is like $25, right? And so they will send you a bunch of these coins, and you say, well, each of these is worth $1,000, and that's not true at all. Or they just take your money and disappear after running away and saying that they've invested in gold, right? So unfortunately, if you think that gold is a great investment, it is safer to go to a broker and buy gold and store it under your bed than it is to just go to a broker, exchange, or put your money into a precious metal exchange, right? Because at least you have the gold, right? Like in this case, you don't even have the gold. It's just an amorphous existence thing, right? Cryptocurrency. We're going to talk about cryptocurrency. I don't even want to talk about how it works, because the biggest thing we found is that when people think they know how it works, they start investing in it. And so if you want to learn how it works, you should go research it. I'm not going to tell you anything. But a rug pull scam is essentially where they get a bunch of people to invest in a cryptocurrency. When people invest in a cryptocurrency, it increases the value of said cryptocurrency, right? They lock you into an investment contract over the course of a year or two. And then everyone raises the price of the money, and the people who own the cryptocurrency are allowed to sell their money, or are allowed to sell their shares in crypto whenever they want. They take all the money and disappear. And then the cryptocurrency is worthless, and you're locked into it for a 2-year contract, right? And they can do this because they're online, and they can just take your money and disappear. And right now, crypto is super unregulated, so there's no real way of stopping this. They tend to use fake celebrity endorsements, or real celebrities endorse certain crypto coins. And they try to get you to invest, because the more people that invest in a crypto coin, the more money the crypto coin is worth, right? It's like if you, by buying $1, made $1 more expensive, right? It's very confusing, but that's the general gist of it. So they try to get as many people on board, so they pull all of this up. They're pumping it up. So they talk about they're pumping up. These aren't real dollars. They're not real currencies. There's nothing physical, absolutely nothing physical. It's all code on the internet. Pump and dump. So a rug pull scam is where they get everyone to invest and then they pull the rug out from under you because they say, this is all our money now, bye. Pump and dump scams are where they get everyone to pump in as much money as they can and it artificially inflates the price of a crypto coin. And then they bet on the crypto coin losing value. And then a bunch of people leave and they make a bunch of money, but you lose all of your money because the cryptocurrency is now worthless, right? All cryptocurrency has incredibly high volatility. We even recently saw, this is not any sort of a dig, but even the very stable fancy crypto coins like Bitcoin and Ethereum that we've heard about, they just took a massive loss. Like people lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think over $6 billion in market share was lost in 45 minutes just 2 weeks ago because of tariff announcements. Because again, all of this is totally just made up, essentially. Like it's all ethereal. It is. This is legitimate. This is technically but the thing is that these are all investments that are technically legitimate. And again, we go back to disclaimer, I can't make any sort of claims as to what you should and should not do. So if you want to invest in cryptocurrency, do it. But you know, it is a high risk, high reward environment. Yes.
I've been listening since crypto came out. I just sat there and thought, what? And then I heard Biden say, I wouldn't invest in crypto. There's something funny with it until they get it solved. And I just sat there and thought, okay. But then I've come to realize, I think cryptocurrency is the rich man's big scam to scam us poor people, to rob our money.
I'm not legally allowed to say that, so I won't.
But I'll say it. Thank you.
So just right now, all that it is it is very ethereal. If you feel like investing in it, just be aware that risk and reward go together like Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. It is just, you have high risk, high reward, low risk, low reward. So be aware that if you're putting money into it and it's a high risk environment, you might lose said money, right? All right, let's power through. We have fake crypto exchanges. They want you to try to invest. There are crypto exchanges that say, we'll invest your money for you so you don't have to worry about any of this stuff. And then what happens is that none of those companies actually exist. The place where it's like if you went and traded on the S&P 500, except for if the S&P 500 didn't exist and just took your money and then said, yeah, we're investing it, and then disappeared, right? And it's hard to catch those people, right? We have a lot of these fake crypto exchanges. So again, crypto is pretty unregulated. Crypto scams are a method for people to take your money. This is like an ATM, except for the fact that it can whisk your money anywhere in the world with little to no regulation, with little to no management. We recently had a guy go into Days Market here in Provo and use their crypto ATM to wire a person he'd never met before $30,000, which was something like a fourth of his retirement at that time. And he wired it to a crypto account that was 12 digits long, and it disappeared. And the money's still in the ATM, right? Like you put the bills in, but it's sent the money, and so it's gone through the company, and so you can't just take the money out, and the company isn't gonna give it back, right? So he has essentially taken money. The thing about cryptocurrency ATMs and crypto ATMs in general is that you could put your money in and have a crypto account, and then the next day your money is worth less because you've turned it into cryptocurrency, or it's worth 100 times what it was, but that can change second by second. But even worse is that crypto ATMs in a lot of cases will just send your money to whatever account you put in. So it's not like it's going to a bank, it's not like it's going to a bank account. What is happening is that it is sending it without any regulation or oversight by any company anywhere in the world to anyone who has this 16-digit hexadecimal code, right? So you put that number in and your money disappears. And you'll never see it again because the money's still in the thing, but it's been sent to someone else. This is a really good way for criminals to take your money. So if anyone ever says, send me money with a crypto ATM, that's a good red flag. All right. This is we'll end it here. We have a little bit on investment fraud, but that one is, I mean, you guys know that stuff. So crypto loss recovery scams are what I think are the most insidious, because that is always where after you've lost your money to crypto, someone will reach out to you and say, "Hi, I'm so-and-so from this law firm. We have a means of getting you your money back. Send us a $500 fee and we'll get all your money back." And they aren't real and they take all your money. Yes.
Sorry. So this has been so informative to let us know what the different scams and what to look for. But what does your service or your where you work, what are they doing to help recover, or is that even possible?
This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing this, is
Yeah.
because there's one thing that works better than anything else. We can't recover a lot of things because in a lot of cases it's moving across state lines, it's moving across jurisdictions, countries, I guess the moon or something like that. I don't know. It's money is disappearing and moving. The easiest way to stop it and to keep your money safe is for you guys to be the first line of defense, right? Because it's very hard for us to do it after the fact. Yes.
So my question is, can you tell everybody how much money was lost in the state of Utah last year to fraud and scams?
To fraud and scams generalized, it was $48 million. 48 one year. And that's a good year, actually. This is a pretty good year. We actually dropped down to 25th in overall fraud rankings in the United States. It was not because it was a good year for us, it was because there was a bad year for everyone else. So we're no longer in the top 10. Usually we're in the top 4. But in fiscal year 2023 was one of our worst years, or sorry, 2022, where over, I think, $190 million in assets were lost from Utahns, just across a bunch of different scams, rug pulls, things like that. How do that's actually a really good question, because that is only the people who have reported losses. Those are only the reported losses. Those are the only ones that we know about. So again, don't be afraid. Don't throw your computers in the ocean. But yes, I think we will end off here unless there's anything else that we'd like to cover. Any questions?
Maybe I'll have you come back. So appreciate you very much. He said he's willing to just talk with you individually if you want. Okay, sorry. He's willing to just answer a couple questions if you want, just individually. But we thank you, Mr. McFarland.
Thanks so much.